All right, well, welcome back to episode, I believe this is 9 of the Tony's Talks podcast. I'm here, Jeremy.
Is it really 9?
I'm Jeremy. And yes, that's Jenna.
I thought it was 7.
No, I believe it's 9. John and Uncle John.
Hi, how are y'all?
Uncle John?
No.
I'm not Uncle John.
I'm going to go around the table. Jenna, how you been?
Not yet, anyway.
I gotta be honest, I'm a little groggy. I didn't think the time change would affect me that much, but I think staying up till 5 a.m. the night we got returned from Seattle was not good. So I'm a little tired.
Jenna was like sending her Wordle in the group chat at like 4:30. I was like, hello.
Down bad.
Well, somebody has to see it at that time. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, Uncle, how you been? This is your next.
I've missed my crew. They were half gone while they were enjoying Seattle.
We were half gone, all right.
And John?
Just living out here, you know? Enjoying this comfy couch. Happy to be back for another ep.
It's been a few weeks since we last recorded. We were going to try and get one in before the Super Bowl. Didn't really make sense. So congratulations to the LA Rams. I definitely knew they were playing in the Super Bowl. And
Not the 49ers.
they ended up beating the Cincinnati Bengals to win the Super Bowl. Congrats on that. I did want to have one conversation about the Super Bowl, and I don't know if this is... I feel like it's become less important.
The halftime show?
Well, yes, we can do the halftime show as well. I was going to start with any kind of commercials. That if you guys don't think there are any commercials we're talking about, we don't have to do this. We can just go right into the halftime show. What do you guys think? You see anything that was funny? There were a couple like decent ones, but
I like the Uber Eats one. When people were eating like diapers and like Jennifer Coolidge was like eating her lipstick. It was just, that was pretty creative and funny.
It says eats.
There was more people in it. That was like, there was something where I was like, oh, that was a good thing, but I can't remember what it is now.
I wish I could remember which crypto company it was too, but the ones
Yes.
that just put the QR code on the TV for 30 seconds. I think it was it wasn't crypto.com.
Crypto.com had a good commercial though. I forget.
They all
Who
it's
was
like
in
big.
it?
Crypto was really big at the Super Bowl.
It did cost millions of dollars, over $5 million, the commercial.
A lot of crypto.
I think it was
commercials.
Coinbase, I think, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But
LeBron James had that commercial with like his younger self, which
that tripped a lot of people up.
my family misinterpreted that. Like they thought it was his son. That was like,
Well, but he does have a son that's like playing basketball.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that wasn't him in the commercial.
Yeah, I mean, it went over my head.
So that's kind of an interesting topic. I mean, we don't need to go into it super depth.
What are you thinking? Break it down.
No, I just think it's cool because his son, Bronny James, is, I believe, eligible for the upcoming NBA draft.
I heard that too somewhere.
And LeBron's basically said, you know, if you want me to come to your team, draft my son, because he's been very vocal about the fact that he wants to be able to play with his son in some capacity before he retires.
Has that ever happened?
That would be so cool.
I don't know that there's ever been
We're coming out here with no
a
fact.
father-son tandem. I mean, I'm sure it's maybe happened in professional sports, but you think about the longevity, it's like it's very rare that you see that. So I think that would be pretty neat. Even if it's just kind of like his last dance or whatever, he plays for a season with.
And he must have been a
Bronny.
young father, because if his son's almost 20 and he's still playing in the NBA.
Well, he's like, how old is he?
42, 43.
Yeah, LeBron's
Google
40
search on
something.
this? I'll find out. But you guys don't let me just do this.
How old is LeBron James?
LeBron James.
Oh, I beat Siri. 37.
37.
She almost beat me. That's younger than I thought he was.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
much younger.
How old is Bronny James?
LeBron James Jr. is 17 years old.
So they're exactly. He was 20 when
So
he
he
was 20
20.
when he
Okay.
had Bronny, and he has another son as well, and maybe a daughter. But yeah, I think he's eligible for the draft because I don't know if you have to be 18 to be drafted. I would imagine.
that would be
Yeah, that's how it
cool.
is in
I like
hockey.
seeing like you see it a lot in like the NHL. Like a lot of siblings play, not always together. The Sedin brothers are kind of
Yeah,
one of the only.
Well, that was extremely unique too because they were also drafted 2 and 3 overall. That was a big deal too.
Oh, Eli and Peyton.
Oh,
No,
yep.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Well, that's
That's
yep.
the NFL,
Like I mean,
yeah.
they didn't play together, but they were both quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so
but
hockey, brothers play together in hockey a lot.
the Sedin twins were like the face of the Vancouver Canucks for quite a while.
Yeah,
And it
then
was
the Stahl
pretty
brothers,
unique.
too.
Yeah.
and then the Bruins absolutely whooped them in 2011.
2011 Cup final.
Yeah,
Not
Well,
really whooped them.
We were out in Vancouver and we
Kinda
saw a
whooped
Canucks fan.
I mean,
at
a
the bar
little.
we were at. And he was like,
I was
he was
rewatching.
still talking about 2011.
I was rewatching recently all of the. I'm pretty sure it was just like every goal scored by the Bruins
in the run to the cup in 2011.
Yeah, in the
it's
run,
a big video.
But like but I guess I didn't. I mean, how old was I? Like 12. I was like 12 when we won. But 12. But it was not as much of like a blowout, I would say. Like we were on the verge of elimination like multiple times it was like throughout the whole run. Like I felt like we were like just like getting by like the skin of our teeth throughout it, which I didn't really realize, but
I don't
makes
know how
it
many
even
game
cooler.
sevens they played in that
They
run.
played against Vancouver, they played against Tampa, they played against Montreal. So I think 3.
I was going to
They
say
swept
3.
Philly.
Yeah.
So I think it was 3.
Because
But
that was
we
the
swept
year.
the Flyers.
I think that was the year
That was the-
after.
It wasn't. When did we
It
sweep
was the year after that they were up 3-0 and lost 4 straight to lose to the Flyers. They swept them the following year.
When did we sweep the Penguins? Was that 2013?
Oh no, that was. So this we're
We
gonna
swept
get
the
we're really
Penguins-
getting off topic here.
We
but
swept the Penguins when
It was 2013.
When
It was
Vine
2013.
was still a thing, because
Yeah.
I made a Vine about it.
That was
I
all
literally
2013.
Good Vine.
Yeah.
I kicked a stuffed animal of a penguin. That was
Anyway, we don't want to. People
Anyway,
who
anyway.
aren't interested in hockey probably don't want to hear about this.
Sorry.
Well, though this has an uncle tie-in because there was one year where for my birthday, I think
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
I
the
have a
year
photo
that
of
they
this. I know where
beat
it's
the
going.
Penguins
That was
in the
2013.
playoffs because you got me a really nice birthday cake that had like the little penguin on it and then the big bear.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember
I don't
that?
remember it, but I saw a picture of it.
Because we had birthday
wasn't
dinner
there.
at Marchetti's and you had gotten that really nice cake.
Oh wow! I got many. I got one that was shaped like a
We'll have to
hockey
show
boot.
this to Uncle again
Hockey
too.
skate. Remember
but
that one?
We'll put it up in
Uncle
the
is
video.
the
I'll try to
cake
make sure
boss.
I
we do
used
that.
to be when they were.
Speaking of hockey skates,
Oh my God! All right,
It's a good
so if you just
segue.
want to get into it, we can just get into it, I guess. We'll start off by saying that Uncle is wearing some Seattle Kraken merch that we got him while we were out in Seattle, and I'll just do a little background to what we were actually doing. We went out to Seattle this past week to watch the Bruins play the Seattle Kraken, the NHL's 32nd franchise, who is playing their team is playing their first season right now, and we wanted to make sure that we were there for the first time. The Bruins traveled to Seattle because we're big hockey fans. It's just what we do. We like to gear our trips around hockey. So we went out there. We had planned this week-long stay in Seattle. Me, my brother, John right here, obviously, and Jenna, and our father. The 4 of us went out there, and we checked our bags. Well, excuse me. We're relatively smart travelers. We do
could I explain this, babe?
We do a carry-on and a backpack on the plane, but we had to check one bag with our skates in it, and Jenna can take it from here.
Well, okay. The reason that we checked our skates in the first place was because we were planning on going public skating at the Kraken practice facility.
Which we went and did.
Thank you, sweetheart. We did indeed do that. But that was the only reason that we even checked a bag, because we all had carry-ons anyway. But because we had that checked bag, we were like, throwing some extra stuff of ours into it as well. And one of those things just so happened to be a vintage Rayborg jersey with a very high sentimental value to Jeremy and John's dad. But so we land in Seattle, the bag is checked, right? And the pilot or the flight attendant, someone said over the announcements when we landed that we were running like 5 minutes late. So people who had connections, like they wanted us to basically sit and let those people get up and go and just get to their connecting flights. Understandable. We weren't in a rush, whatever. So we're like one of the last people off the plane, and we stopped at the bathroom on the way back. And then we also had to like search for our luggage, like our carousel for the baggage claim. And by the time we got there, the bulk of our flight had already come and gone through there and gotten their bags and left. But there were like 3 bags left on the baggage claim, and none of them were ours. So you actually talked to the people. So
Yeah, so I went to the nice guy at the desk for the airline, which I guess I don't need to involve in this, which airline it was.
I think we should.
I don't think it was. I'm going to say no, because they were as helpful as they could have been in the process. It wasn't really. It's more about the airport design and the lack of security at these airports. And obviously, we were flying in a SeaTac, the international airport between Seattle and Tacoma, and the baggage claim is just like sitting right next to the street. So basically, what happened, we now know because we have video footage of it. That so it was taken. People were there and just like the guy. It was two people working together. I'm bumbling through the story.
Our bag was stolen off
Yeah.
the baggage claim in the time it took us to get off the plane and to the baggage claim.
Right.
So that was how we started our trip, which kind of sucked. And we did some math, and
We're talking about 4 pairs of hockey skates and 2 NHL jerseys.
yeah. So to some people, not very valuable, but to us, extremely valuable, especially considering Jeremy had just bought a new pair of skates.
Yeah, I had only worn my skates twice, and they got stolen. So that's sick. And
I had only worn my skates 4 times.
anyone who knows anything about the price of hockey skates can understand how much that cost. But yeah, so that's how we started our trip. Didn't start on a high note at all.
But it ended on, I guess, a good high note.
Yeah, no, I mean the Bruins won the game. We had a great time there. We just happened to bump into the president of the Seattle Kraken while we were at the practice facility. We were wearing our Bruins jerseys, and I think he enjoys interacting with fans
He
of other
never,
teams.
I don't think he knew that we knew who he was, which was
yeah,
kind of the good part about
up
it.
until 30 seconds beforehand, 3 of the 4 of us didn't know, and I kind of told.
You deserve that.
I
You
kinda
deserve
told-
Where
that.
did you
Told
bump
them.
into him in the bathroom or something?
No, so his name, I guess I can tell you. His name is Todd Lewicki. He's the president of the team. His brother is actually, his name is Tim, and his construction company renovated Key Arena into what
That
is now
cray cray, because there are
Climate
2
Pledge
brothers, 2 regulars who are named Tim and Tom.
I feel like Tim and Tom. He's Todd.
Oh, Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Rats.
But anyway,
Cancel
I
that.
feel like the double T is probably pretty cool.
I'll just stop.
Anyway, so he's like no small figure to be just running into at the practice facility. So that was kind of cool.
But the key thing that the reason he was there was because pretty much all the offices
Right.
of those higher ups within the Seattle Kraken work within that building, which I have no idea. That's not a thing at Warrior.
No, they have offices there. I don't know that they permanently work there. She's talking about the Bruins practice facility.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's a brand new facility that they renovated for this team. John, I'll let you talk in a second if you were trying to. But they have 3 sheets of ice there. One where the team practices primarily,
3 sheets to the wind.
and then there's 2 other ice surfaces that they use for like men's league and public skating and other stuff. So it's awesome. It's brand new, and it was very fun to skate there. It was cool just to see it all. But John,
Yeah, I was just going to add, so as Jenna was alluding to, like the whole of the Seattle Kraken's hockey operations have their offices there in the practice facility. And after we did our little public skating, they have a restaurant upstairs that we went up to have lunch. And that's where we ran into Todd. And the nice gentleman that was hosting there was giving us a whole rundown on like everything that goes on in the complex or whatever. And then we got to our seats at our table, and Todd Lewicki, who you mentioned, was sitting a couple tables down, and he obviously probably assumed that we didn't know who he was.
We were wearing Bruins, mostly Bruins merch.
Yeah.
I had my McAvoy jersey on. Jeremy had his jersey on, I think.
yeah.
I didn't have a jersey on because it got stolen.
Right.
So
Right.
Tough.
So anyway, great time. Flight was awesome. Uncle, chime in if you haven't spoken in a minute.
I miss
You-
my family.
Get
while
that
they
mic
were
right up
gone.
in your face again.
I got a nice jersey out of it.
well, it's not a
I
jersey.
got to babysit their sister
Why don't we
phone.
clear our throat before we... You sound a little froggy over there.
Had to shovel their driveway because they weren't there.
We did miss the snow. There was a snowstorm. We missed it, which we were pretty lucky because we were landing at midnight on Friday, like 11:55 Friday night, and luckily the snow had not really gotten in our way of landing, which was
I
good.
mean, it's a little hairy because like the storm was literally leaving Boston as we were coming out on the plane, and the pilot kind of had to do a bit of a circle and really drop the plane down slow and under the clouds. But because those situations are always a little scary, not scary, but you can kind of tell that the weather is having an effect on the landing, and that can be a little nerve-wracking. But anyway,
Yeah, I was just reading the whole time, just trying to keep my mind off of it.
Well, they
'cause
literally
I
had
get really freaked
they had
out.
a whole fleet of vehicles on the airstrip itself, like shoveling off different parts of the.
It was icy.
Runway.
Good thing that they were able
Oh
to.
yeah,
land.
you were in the window on the way back. So
Yeah,
you
I
were,
was watching the whole thing.
Oh yeah, I was just reading The 7 Husbands of
Yeah.
Evelyn Hugo, trying to keep my mind away from that because I'd freak myself out.
Yeah.
I basically have to break Jeremy's hand every time we take off and land
Oh,
on a
God.
plane.
That's definitely true.
It's just my least favorite part. Like
I'm the
physics,
same way.
The physics of a plane have not ever and will never make sense to me. The fact that plane we're just on like this
Are you
little
a flight denier?
runway, and the fact that like the plane just like lifts and just fly, like it just, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I never will get it
Turbulence is a
myself.
weird thing to me because it feels like you're like on a bumpy road, but you're not on a road at all. You know what I mean? Like it blows my mind. It never makes sense to me. So I get freaked out when we take off and land. And
No, you're not.
That is the
only one,
majority
so.
of the thing that people
I
hate.
thought we were gonna fly right off the edge of the earth.
And I
you
chew
know,
a
since
whole
it's
lot of
flat
gum.
and everything.
Uncle, how was your week while we were gone?
Very eventful. As usual, I did a lot of OT.
So you just worked. You didn't want to think about us being gone, so you
Yes.
just worked the whole time?
No, it was people that are on the verge of termination, so they didn't show up to work. So I picked up a few extra shifts here and
So
there
you're making some money then.
to pay off for my remodeling bathroom
yes, you got a new bathroom.
between my nephew Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
their father John Sr., and my nephew Michael and my niece Sandra. It's all done.
Yeah, that was a much needed renovation. It looks nice. So,
Yes, it looks awesome, nice and clean and big.
what did you do this whole week when you didn't have that? Well, you didn't. It wasn't the whole week, but those few days.
I ate a lot. I ate at the Perigos twice. Picked
Just
up Logan
twice?
once from hockey.
Did you like go out
Swimming.
and shower in the bay?
No, I had to use public restrooms at work
I
They-
heard you
okay.
showered in our
Maybe clarify.
downstairs.
and
one
at your parents' house once,
Mm-hmm.
and my house twice since the bathroom's been fixed.
Logan did have. I guess I can consider this under a listener question. Logan did have one question that we wanted to ask on here. It's a little question he came up with. It was directed at Uncle,
Uh-oh.
I think, but it was, what is your earliest memory?
I feel like we've done this before.
No, we might have done it on the regular
Circa.
video, but we didn't do
My
it here.
earliest memory?
Yeah, talk to the podcast. If someone saw the video and we put it in there, then that's fine. But just, yeah.
Okay.
What's the first thing you remember about life, Uncle?
Life?
Yeah.
Walking through the pasture in California and stepping on cow manure with my grandfather.
Barefoot, just it like seeps between your toes.
I think I had baby shoes on. I must have been like 3 years old.
Oh.
Then I remember my first day of kindergarten, I wouldn't let my mother's legs leave my hands. I tortured her.
So you were one of those kids when it came down to like being separated from your parents on your first day of kindergarten.
Well, let's
you were
face
like, yeah,
it,
Ma,
there
you're
was
not
no
going anywhere.
preschool, no Twinkie school. I just got separated at 4 years and
So
11
loud.
months from my mother, so I just freaked.
What's Twinkie school?
Like tweens, what do you call that? When they're 3 years old and
Logan
still
went
in
to
diapers?
Logan
Little
went to
tyke.
Twinkie
Yeah.
school.
Little
God,
tykes.
so the voice crack.
Because there was no preschool back
What
in
was
the
it called?
in
Logan's
the
been
late
in school since 3
60s.
years
The
old.
We
maybe.
3 program.
1969, there was no preschool that I
Maybe
knew
that's
of.
why he's getting mailers from Brown.
But that was one of the earliest memories I have.
Or
Jeremy,
was it
what's
Brown or what other schools?
Jeremy,
I don't
what's
think
your
you got one
earliest
from Brown,
memory?
but
There was one from
Maybe
California.
Yeah,
one
Jimmy,
day.
what's your earliest?
Sorry, I'm not.
Brown's not in California, Jeremy.
The 1
Thank
year
you,
happy
John.
birthday party.
Hello,
Oh,
Jeremy.
my earliest memory?
Do you remember the 1 year birthday party you had?
No, I don't. But my parents love to bring this up because apparently I just cried the whole time.
You
Like,
cried.
My
You
God, I
had
did
a
too.
serious meltdown.
My grandmother bought me this beautiful, like, custom-made party hat that said Jenna's first birthday, and it was like this beautiful, like, satin-coated, like, you know, like the triangle type party hat, cone shape, and it had like feathers and glitter and all of that, and it was so beautiful. I had such a nice cake, and I was just being such a little brat the whole time.
Brat.
Rats.
Yeah, no, I broke my arm when I was 5.
Tell us how, Jeremy.
Smooth
Power
transition.
It's not my first memory,
Was
but
it
it's
the
the most
Power
nostalgic
Rangers?
it's
one.
not. It's probably not my first, but like it's one of the more vivid memories of my childhood. I still don't remember. I mean, I don't remember it that well. But so the point of it was we were playing tug of war on a couch, similar to this one sitting in front of us now. And I was on one
It was
end,
a
and
futon,
my
actually.
father and John were on the other end. Sure, it was a futon. And they both let go of this blanket that we were pulling on, and I didn't let go of it. And I went flying backwards and slammed my elbow on the floor or something.
It was on the edge of the little entertainment center where we had the TV.
So yeah, 5 years old, and I had a cast on my arm. That's the
It
only
wasn't
time
child abuse.
I've broken other bones. I broke my collarbone
you
when
for
I
the
was like in 6th
clarification.
grade playing hockey, but the only time that's only like, it was just a hairline fracture when I fractured my collarbone. The only like real limb that I broke was that.
Never broken a bone.
I don't recommend it. It's not a great time.
I'll keep that in mind.
The
Yeah.
one bone I've broken was my wrist. I broke it during a hockey tryout one year and ended up making the team, but then I like couldn't play for a few months, so that was fun.
I think I might have broken a pinky toe, but I'm pretty sure when that happens, you don't.
It heals by
I mean, I've
the
like
Yeah.
broken a finger before, but it's hardly.
I probably have. I played basketball. And
I
had some
ironically
pretty-
hate basketball.
Had some pretty gnarly jams back in the day.
I hate basketball. Like out of the 4 major sports, it's number 4 for me. I don't hate it. It's I guess
All
a
right,
strong
I'll
word.
just see myself.
No, that's
out.
not why I'm saying
the
this.
one freaking sport.
That's
that
not
I
what I'm
play.
saying. You like hockey too, but anyway.
My niece Sandra was an awesome basketball player, but that was one of her least, sports that she excelled in. She played everything from volleyball, soccer,
Yeah, she was
basketball,
tendered like Division 1
swimming.
volleyball offers.
Yes.
Our cousin Sandra.
But she missed it to take care of my father when he was battling an illness.
Wow, that's
You know?
I think I have an earliest memory.
what is it?
So the only reason I think it's my earliest memory is because I was only 3 when my grandfather died. But
that's a good. Usually when someone dies, it's like
I have to assume that a memory I have with him is pretty early on. But I remember like sitting at my grandparents' house, and Jeremy, you never actually saw my grandparents' house, did you?
no.
No, because I was in Franklin. Anyway, we were sitting in their living room. It was like Christmas or something. Like everybody, like my cousins and aunts and uncles, everybody was there. And I don't know why, but I just remember like sitting on my grandfather's lap and being like, "What's that buzzing? What's that noise?" And it was his hearing aid. And no, but I remember like he took out his hearing aid and showed it to me and like held it up to my ear. And it's like, it's very quick. It's not that vivid, but it is. I do.
Core memory.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that. It's one of the only memories I actually have
Yeah.
with him because I was really young when he passed.
Me too. I was 3 or 4 when my grandfather passed.
Yeah, both of our grandfathers also passed when we were young.
So I'm thankful that I have that.
Super weird thing though. I guess I'll just bring this up really quick, and again, it brings us back to hockey. But the night our father's father, died was the same night that Ray Bork won the Stanley Cup, which is ironic because
Spooky.
yes, and for those who do know hockey, he didn't win it with the Boston Bruins. He had been traded, or he
won
signed
it
with.
with the Avalanche.
Correct.
Bingo.
I don't remember if it was a trade. I think he just signed there because he knew the Bruins weren't going to be in a position to win anytime soon. And the night he finally won his Stanley Cup, this was a huge deal for even Bruins fans, even though it wasn't with the Bruins. Was the night that he passed. My father was in the hospital, and I think he was my grandfather's favorite player. Definitely my father's, and it was just a very
That's
weird
the Bork jersey that's now been stolen.
right. And then obviously his jersey from all the way back in his time playing with the Bruins is now
I think
gone.
I didn't put that. I knew that story, but I did not put that together.
Yeah.
So that makes the jersey situation.
So while we were in Seattle,
even
that jersey was
worse.
stolen,
Yeah.
which has a tie-in even more because
And kind of to bring it full circle, when the Bruins were most recently in Colorado playing a few weeks ago now, our cousin Emily
oh, that is funny
gave birth
too.
to her son, Theo Robert.
Lethal Theo.
Who shares the middle name of our grandfather and her father.
Yeah.
Was born the night the Bruins were playing in Colorado.
Did
Which
they
is
win?
funny. Which is
No, they lost. But
Which is cool because Emily and her husband Ben always made it, like, at least as far as I know, they always made it a point to go to
the game.
the game in Colorado when the Bruins were playing. I don't really remember them going to many other games except when the Bruins were actually playing. So it's cool that
Just a weird thing.
there's a really cute picture of little Theo with some Bruins merch on, and I bought him a little hoodie for when he's like, it's not gonna fit him till he's like 1, but the hoodie was too cute to pass up.
So if you believe in that sort of thing, then that's a little something for you.
Karma.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I use karma as the right word there, but
It's kind of an
Oh, yeah,
interesting.
I know what you mean.
yeah, I had it coming
connection.
for you.
You know?
yeah. All right.
Slip of the
So
tongue.
to step off of, we're gonna jump into a little world news stuff here.
Okay.
And
Uh-oh.
Can we at all talk about Wordle?
what do you mean? We've talked about Wordle before. When it first started getting popular,
Oh,
we
we
talked
did?
about
Sorry,
it. Yeah.
did you say Wordle news?
So we're like ahead of the trend on this whole Wordle thing.
Oh,
We were
okay.
talking about it weeks ago, but yes, I was going to bring up Russia and the Ukraine because I think it's something we should talk about on here. But I wasn't necessarily going to jump right into that. But why don't we just do it, Uncle? What are your thoughts on this?
I
Obviously,
think-
Russia has been now inside Ukraine, inside their capital, for multiple days
I think
now.
2 things it's dangerous. First of all, they have a very unstable president. Secondly, he's already arming his generals or whatever to prepare the weapons if they ever need to use any of them.
Right. I think most people aren't interested in a war where Russia's
Yes.
just taking over a country
Yes.
because of resources,
But
political strength. They use the guise of like that it was once part of Russia. I don't know.
Meet the Press did say that we promise never to go in there, but if things get ultimately bad,
It's
you
just
never
the
can
general
say that.
principle of one of, the world's superpowers, frankly, invading a sovereign country and kind of just strong-arming them, and it's not a good look.
It's kind of hard to watch, and I don't like. Obviously, I'm not. I don't. We don't live there. We don't. At the moment, as of right now, nothing about our daily lives has changed. So I'm not going to sit here and act like this is really affecting me in a negative way, right? But I will say that it's. So this is something that I've been like avoiding it. Like I haven't been on Twitter. It's really hard to go online and kind of be inundated with all of this information about it because it's like it is very scary, and like the prospect of them taking over Ukraine and potentially taking over other countries also is very scary. But like Poland has been like talked about a lot with the potential of Russia wanting to invade them, which again, I'm really not well read on this at all, but I just have heard something like that. And it's really sad to see because that's a place that I lived for 3 months, and I'm assuming I'm related to people from there. I have to take a DNA test. I don't know, but like it's just hard. I met really good people when I was there, and the fact that they're probably sitting scared, like probably a little bit freaked out right now is really upsetting to me. And like it's just hard to see, and it's also kind of weird because I was supposed to go to Kiev for a trip when I was in Poland, when I was studying abroad before. This is 2019, like before any of this was really starting. And our flight got canceled, and we just had to cancel the whole trip. But in hindsight, it does kind of suck that like that might have been maybe my only opportunity ever to go there, should it continue to be, for like a fun travel trip. You know what I mean? I don't think it would be very fun to go there in the foreseeable future. So that kind of sucks that happened.
And putting it into like an American perspective too, I mean, Russia is equally as far, on the opposite side of the country from here as it is to like a lot of the European countries. And that sounds hard to explain, but like if they're very close to Alaska, right? So it's almost like if they decided they wanted to invade Canada, and then Canada's right on our border. That's basically what it'd be like if you're a country like Poland that is sitting right there, and you're like, okay,
exactly.
Now these guys are like our neighbor, and are they going to stop now? Or are they going to, I'm just trying to put it into a perspective where a lot of people can understand it, but it's almost like a country to our neighbor was taken over and by, relatively hostile major power. And it's a little different because Poland doesn't have as much say on the international stage as the United States does, but it's still a scary thing to think about.
My brother said something, again, I am not well read. I'm just going to make that abundantly clear that I don't really know what I'm talking about that much, but I think the second that Russia tries to go in on a country that is part of NATO, that's when the stuff is really going to start to go down. I don't know if
that's what they said.
I don't think that's wise of Russia at
I think
all.
it would have only gotten this far because they weren't. But
yeah, I don't think that's wise of them, from my little perspective. But that's not only is the concept of Poland, just for example, the concept of them being invaded in any way, personally is like scary and pretty sad to me, especially considering the history that Poland has already gone through from World War II. But I do think that should that happen, I think that we're in for a lot bigger fight than what we see right now.
Yeah, and I think even Putin's smarter than to go that far. This was there was a calculation on his part to even do this in the first place, and you could
call them neo-Nazis when the president is Jewish. Ukraine.
He's obviously said some things that are just
make no sense,
outrageous. Yeah, and I've heard people talk about. I was watching the news a little bit on the flight back because I don't spend a ton of time actually just watching live news nowadays. But they were talking about some people near him, and I think they had the ambassador to the Ukraine, the U.S. ambassador to the Ukraine on. And how he hasn't spoken directly to Putin, but people that he knows that have been around him feel like over the last year he's kind of slightly become unhinged, as much as he hasn't, was he hinged to begin with is a different story. But It's a mess, and obviously we don't know where it's going to lead. No one does right now, so we're really just speculating, but putting it into our perspective, because I really don't think people here necessarily take it as seriously as they should. At least some people. Obviously, it's a huge story, but
So right before we started this podcast, I think there's been a couple I want to look at the bright side of some, not the bright side, but some of the more inspiring things that are happening because of this. Like I saw on Twitter that a former beauty pageant contestant, I think it was Miss Ukraine, like something like that. She there was a picture of her. Her name's Anastasia something. I feel bad that I don't know her name, but there was a picture of her like competing, as a beauty in beauty pageants, and on one side, and then another picture of her currently geared up and looking like she's ready to fight if she needs to and defend her country. And I think that not only her, but we've also seen Zelensky.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Ukrainian
Zelensky has
president.
not left, and I think that that's really commendable. Especially, I can't help but compare it, not to bring American politics into it, but when you compare someone like him staying in a place like that at a time like this, and then you see someone like from America, like Ted Cruz, going to Cancun in the middle of a snowstorm because he was like
that is
too
like
much
dropped
of a,
all the power in his state.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's so commendable and inspiring to see people who do care so much for their country. And I think that it's such a unique perspective that we could never have because America's so big and diverse that to see another country have that mentality. It's cool to see, and it gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, and we obviously hope for the best in the situation, and we'll talk about it if it develops further on the show too, because I think it's something that we should talk about because it's important. But
yeah, I have a feeling this topic is not a one and done
Yeah,
situation.
right.
I have a feeling this is going to be going for quite a while. So,
but on some lighter stuff, Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra welcome the baby.
what a transition!
Wow.
And how lucky are we that we get to
weren't they
transition
at
like
one
that?
time separated or something, or he didn't pronounce her as his wife and some
Well,
reason?
there was some tea because Rosie O'Donnell
go.
had mispronounced, no, she didn't even say that. She said something like, oh, just like Nick Jonas's wife, or
Sounds like Rosie
some
O'Donnell.
other, there was someone else who had the last name Chopra, or Chopra, that she just had assumed was Priyanka Chopra's father, and it was not. She just assumed that it was another, Indian sounding
facts.
name. And was she Indian? Oh my God, that would be so
Yeah,
embarrassing.
Priyanka
She is
Chopra's Indian,
right?
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank God. That's what I thought. But wasn't her? And then she made some backhanded apology, and it was not really respectful at all of Rosie O'Donnell. But yeah, they had a baby through a surrogate,
Right.
I
which
did not know that.
Which is not
yes,
what
it
Rihanna
was-
is doing.
Yes, Priyanka did not have a baby, did not have the baby, but I believe it's still it was her egg, I think, right? Is that
That's
how it works? It's
They
her
just
egg and his
put it in the surrogate.
someone else. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Correct. As far as I know, no. I don't do that for a
That's how
living
Kim
or anything.
Kardashian and Kanye West had their last 3 kids
Oh,
because
is it really? I don't think I knew that.
yeah, Kim Kardashian was only pregnant once, and she had really bad preeclampsia, which is when you have really, really high blood pressure
Gotcha.
during pregnancy, and it can be really dangerous for you and the baby. So Kim Kardashian decided to have a surrogate give birth to her 3 other kids. So I think it's cool to see that happening a lot more because I think
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a cool, and people are open about it. It's cool. Happy for them.
Right.
Is it a girl?
I couldn't tell you. Maybe I looked it up in a second. You did bring up Kim and Kanye though.
Yikes.
And this has gotten really messy between the two of them. And I don't know if you guys have any comments on this. Uncle, you may not have seen
They
news,
made the
but
cover of a magazine that they're fallen in love.
Kim and Kanye or Kim and Pete Davidson?
Kim and Pete Davidson.
Kim and Skeet?
They found love.
He's
not in it for the money.
We stand Pete
No,
Davidson.
Pete shouldn't be in it for the money. He's got plenty of money himself, but
I just feel like Pete Davidson is just one of those people who's yeah, I don't know why all these hot girls keep coming after me, but what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Say no? What am I gonna do? Say no?
Turn gay? He is who he
what?
is.
She wants to
He's
date
happy.
me. We get along. Whatever. You know what I mean?
well, Kanye was posting photos of his text with Kim on Instagram.
Kanye is just off. Talk about unhinged.
Well, and it is scary too because like she and I think it was a very real screenshot that he posted, but she was like saying like you need to stop coming after him because like someone's gonna actually shoot him or something. You know, he feels like he could be in danger because you have a lot of loyal followers that'll do whatever you want pretty much. There's some psychos out there, and it's like you need to cut it out with some of this Pete stuff because you're gonna put him in danger.
It's problematic because Kanye is a very influential figure in just pop culture in general, and it's been well documented that
And so
you know,
help me
we
God,
all
if
go.
if anything ever happens to Pete Davidson, the way this last couple of years has been.
Yeah, I mean, we all,
Protect
mental
Pete
health
at all
is a
costs.
spectrum, right? And a lot has been talked about, kind of Kanye's struggles of late, and whether he has people in his life that are truly have his best interest in mind and are trying to help, and ultimately kind of hold him to account for some of what he's been spewing about, like Pete and Kanye. I mean, and Kim rather. But it's just scary because someone with that much influence, that much power, if there's no one really like checking him on it, people are sympathizing with him and saying like, oh, Kanye's just trying to like fight for his family and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, he's going about it in an incredibly toxic.
Yeah, I don't know how going after
manner.
Pete Davidson is protecting his family, but
Something else to note is that this situation of, someone like specifically a man being a little bit off the rails about how they're reacting to breaking up with a significant other, never mind the mother of their kids. I think that it's an all too common reaction. And I think that we don't really think about that a lot because we know Kim Kardashian, she's been through a lot. She was robbed in Paris. Like she has high security. Like she's protected and that's great. But a lot of women who are in a situation like that don't always have, a personal security detail.
right.
And I think that's something important to talk about because, she can be, because there's for sure a mental toll being taken, on Kim and on Pete and probably on Kanye as well. But the threat of physical violence is a little bit mitigated because she's able to have herself protected. But that's not always the case with people like
Right.
this.
But
Yeah, I
Pete
think it
wasn't
puts-
the
it sheds
case
a
of
light.
the divorce. They got divorced not because of Pete.
No.
He just became her significant other.
Yeah, they met on SNL. They kissed on live TV.
Yeah, it sheds a light on, I guess, the very real world issues that happen in a lot of the domestic violence that happens around the country. Obviously, it's not just men on women. It can be women on men as well. But in this case, obviously, it's not that way. And it should show the world that, like, it doesn't really matter who you are. Like, everyone deals with this.
Also, if I see one more person on Twitter try to say that Kanye is the reason the Kardashian and Jenner clan is successful, that's going to make me, lose my
We
mind.
knew who they were well before Kanye
yeah,
was in the picture.
it blows my mind that someone could even think that that's a thing. You know?
And I'm not a fan of.
No,
Kim
look,
and
I'm
the
not
Kardashians
not
by
not
any
diehard
means.
Kardashian people
but-
here, but yeah, we know as much as anybody else because we have the internet.
But that also just just has general I guess I don't know if I should go so far as to say misogynistic undertones to it, but it's kind of okay, Kanye's the man that
in a very,
validated.
in a very
definitely undertones.
female-dominated family.
Yeah, and kind of to suggest that he's the reason for their success. I mean, you see this with celebrity couples all the time, and you kind of question whether something that visible can be authentic, or if people are kind of just, they're marrying within their circle, being involved with people of their status, and it kind of, it also raises their status to be associated with someone that's, as widely popular as Kanye West. But I mean, it was a mutually beneficial thing in that respect. Obviously Kim Kardashian has, a comparable following to his. So I think it's just kind of, it's kind of funny that people will make those comments. It's oh, the only reason people like care about the Kardashians anymore is because of Kanye. And
yeah,
it's like,
and the amount of
true.
traction that tweet had was honestly really shocking to me, and I did not see as many people like going after that person who wrote it as I would have liked to. Like, no, like there was just not a lot of defense of them. Like, like that I saw in that one single thread. There are millions of threads on Twitter, but like in that thread of this, you know, long tangent that this person went on about that, it had like, you know, almost 10,000 likes, and you know, the replies were mostly in support of it, which A, I just feel like you don't know what you're talking about, like, but B, I just don't think that's right. But it was tough to see. Some heavy topics today.
Yeah.
It's just, I think when you boil it down, it's like you see people that are that visible kind of just airing out their dirty laundry for everyone to see, and it almost, you know, it reinforces that like this is an acceptable behavior for people to kind of engage in. And it's like, well, just because so and so is doing it doesn't mean that it's like a healthy behavior. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the bigger issue here, is that like,
could be his ego.
Oh, if Kanye West can spew this bullshit about Kim Kardashian, then like
so
anyone can say anything about anyone, and it threatens, you know, people, again, to your point about like that don't have that support system in place. It's like,
Uncle, you have any thoughts on this? You ever watched the Kardashians?
Well, everybody in America knows something about them. How they're the billionaires, some of them, one of the richest women in the world, with her lines of other stuff, like whether it's makeup or clothing, I guess. But back to Kanye, a lot of people that once they lose a woman in their life for whatever reason don't want somebody else to have her. Just they want to possess her like
I'm sure that's what some of it is. But not that it's justified. It's definitely not.
Definitely not justified, but it's like,
I do have an idea of something a bit lighter to talk about that
Absolutely.
I would love to hear Uncle's opinion
okay.
on, or like Uncle's initial reaction on, is Love is Blind.
Oh.
I think the concept is very interesting, and I would like to hear what he thinks about it.
Are you familiar with this, Uncle? You sighed.
Love is Blind. For me,
so
no, let him. I want the initial concept first, and then we can talk about. There's a show too that has to do with this.
do you believe Love is Blind?
in my perspective, in my love life, definitely. Because the people that I've cared for a lot have thought of other people better, but I think their love is blind. I think I would have been a better catch. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. You have a great personality, Uncle.
And a great
You're very caring. So
family.
So the love itself isn't blind. They're just blind to the love.
So the show Love is Blind is all about people who essentially go on this speed dating type of thing where there's, you know, X amount of guys and X amount of girls, and they're put into these things called pods where they can't see each other when they're initially speaking to each other.
Oh, like the dating game back in the 70s.
Sure. I wasn't
Okay.
alive back then. But
Sorry.
No, I trust
Circa.
I trust you.
Okay.
they put them in rooms where they cannot see each other. There's like a bunch of them together. Say it's like 8 women and 8 men, and they all go on dates with each other. They try to figure out who's most compatible. Right. And they eventually get to the point where they meet each other in person. You didn't go this far, right?
No, but the key detail here is that, Uncle, you need to, so you as you know, a guy in this situation,
Yes.
you would have to propose and be engaged to the girl on the other side of the wall without ever having seen her previously. And the only way that you can meet each other and see each other is if you are engaged and committed to each other to getting married.
Oh.
And so the first couple episodes are about them not seeing each other, not knowing what they look like. And then once you get engaged, you get to have your first look at them and meet them. And then you get to go on a tropical, fun vacation.
Right.
And, you know, you kind of go through all the motions of moving in together, meeting each other's families, planning a wedding, and then actually getting married.
So it's like The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
A little bit.
Well, you don't see them.
Except you
But
can't
yes,
see
see
them.
them, yeah.
And the couples are already paired off pretty quickly.
So what do you think of that concept? Do you think it would actually work? Uncle Tony?
Well, it would work
Proposing to someone
if
silencing.
people don't object to the appearance part of the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like, does it meet their standards? Or is it,
And as far as this goes, they cast relatively like attractive people. I wouldn't say they're supermodels or
Yes,
anything,
yeah.
but they're all like, no one's gonna be like
hurt.
dramatically offended. By
That's
the
what I'm
person they
saying.
matched
That's what
with
I'm
or
saying. That's
anything.
the low ball.
Which is a hard thing to navigate, right? Because
Yes.
you know, like they should just be putting anyone in there. But
And I don't mean this in a bad way. Like everybody that's on that show is like pretty average, like pretty, and like it's
That's what I'm
kind of,
saying.
and it's kind of nice to see that because like the girls, like they get all dolled up, but they don't like the Bachelorette people are just crazy
Yeah,
beautiful,
there's, like, a
crazy
very-
unrealistic,
Right.
like. But I think the people on here, I think
it's a much more
So
like
it's not about
typical
money,
looking-
their jobs
Like,
or their,
yeah.
professional.
Well,
they're
their
gonna-
jobs, they can talk about anything. And I mean, they can, even if they want to, get into like describing their physical appearances. But it's the point of that is to not. The point of the show is to not do that. And we did see a little bit of it on this one. I've never watched the first season, but the second season came
do you
out.
think you're like light enough for me to be able to hold you at a music festival?
Yeah, that was really. If anyone's watched Love Is Blind, you know what I was talking
Shake,
about.
get it together, man.
But we watched the whole season. At least Jenna and I did. John caught the kind of the end of the second season, so he watched it with us. And
If you haven't watched the first season,
gonna
though,
spoil
I do
it, but-
recommend it. They're both very good. I think I might have liked the first season a little bit better than this year.
well, yeah, maybe I'll have to watch the first season. But we recommend it. It's an interesting concept. Some couples do end up getting married. You can say no at the altar and walk away from a whole wedding if you choose to.
I mean, again, something important to
does
note.
happen.
It's a reality show. It's very overproduced.
Yes.
It's very very set up. There's a lot of things that production omits from, some of the things that we like witnessed on the show. It's like that came out of left field for us. Like that, if someone says no at the altar, that comes out of left field for us. But it definitely
They cut out like 2 days of the couple
right. It
fighting
definitely didn't
before
come
it
out of
happened.
left field for the
Yeah.
person standing up there. So I think they use that as more of a shock value for the audience. But just take that kind of stuff with a grain of salt. But I do find myself especially the first couple episodes when I'm watching these two people speak to each other and develop an emotional connection before they see each other is usually my favorite part of the show. It like literally makes me smile and makes me
Right.
makes my heart glow because it is cool to see it happen. Like before any of that superficial BS comes into the mix of it, I really do think that when it's just two people who are dedicated, who are there for the same reasons, it's cool to watch and it's an interesting concept, and it's also very interesting to see how much that can change once you see a person.
Right.
I think there are certain people that like genuinely go into it having bought into the idea of the experiment, and they do it for the right reasons. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's reality TV, and it's kind of just like clickbait, shock value TV. And I don't like think it's realistic to. I mean, people go on blind dates all the time, but it's not blind in the sense that you don't see the person
You're right,
during
you
the
see them when
date.
you
It's
show
just you get set up blind, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's just not something that really reflects the reality of how you come to meet someone and learn about them. And like, because even if it's like, sure, it's predicated on this emotional, intellectual connection, you could just sit in there in that box and spew all this BS about yourself and just say all the right things that you think the person on the other side wants to hear. But then in practice, when you actually have to like move in with someone and go through the motions, it's like, that's not real life. Like, that's not how these things happen.
Well, and I mean,
So-
a lot of them are going into it with kind of like a genuine interest in finding love. So to do that to themselves would kind
Sure.
of be like defeating the purpose of what they're there for. But and I don't really see that happening for the most part. So
But to be perfectly honest, it's like it makes me wonder whether people are actually going there because they think that there's some prospect of them actually finding love through this, or it's just kind of like a means to like say, hey, oh, I was on like this reality show and like it was cool, and you wonder if they're just kind of clout chasing, because it just doesn't seem like something that's ever going to really yield a good result. But
yeah, well, it's like I said, we don't want to spend too much time on it, but definitely worth the watch and see for yourself. But it is an interesting concept, and I'm not really into reality shows, and I found it interesting. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, we're gonna finish up here. We're starting to run a little bit long.
You had mentioned something about the halftime show of the Super Bowl.
Oh, we could. Do you want to talk about the halftime
I
show?
didn't watch the game, but I thought maybe you guys did.
You didn't
catch
watch it at all? Did you watch the halftime show?
No.
Okay, well then we probably don't need to get into it too much. But Is there anything
I
you
thought
want?
it was great.
Anything that's been on your mind, Uncle? Anything you've seen in the news or anything you want to
I
talk about a
heard
little
that.
bit?
I didn't know. I forgot that they don't get paid for it in financial, but in the aspect of being out there, they get a lot of benefit and a lot of offers
Do they
to
not? I mean, I guess
continue on.
I think they definitely get
Except for Snoopy
compensated.
Snoopy Dogg.
Bogg.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg did great, was already out there, but
I-
Mary J. Blige, she hadn't been around
We're
in a
snooping
while.
through
So
the
what do you-
cranberry bog.
What do you feel about some of these performers then? I mean, you're familiar with them, right? 'Cause
Yes,
you-
I mean they were
you've been
from the
around.
80s, early 80s, 90s, and I have heard of them, but not being a great dancer or a dancer at all, I really didn't get into their,
You weren't out there dancing
No.
with 50 Cent or
I was
anything like
watching
that?
my friends dance.
I thought it was a really good mix that reached across a lot of generations.
Definitely.
Like, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan, so getting to see him, and then also getting to see Snoop Dogg, and then also getting to see Mary J. Blige, and also Dr. Dre, and 50 Cent. Like, it was
Talk
a
about
really.
a man that's kept himself relevant for so long, Snoop Dogg. I mean, he's like
I
well
love
past
Snoop
a lot of
Dogg.
artists.
He's
prime.
even-
I love
into
Snoop Dogg.
Unk.
Love him.
Yeah.
I love his
Martha
vibe,
Stewart,
his energy.
yes.
He's just a good. He
He goes all areas.
He's so chill. He's so talented. He's so fun.
I love how people post
love his
like of
little
him
outfits.
smoking beforehand as if it's like not the only thing he does all
Shocking.
day, every day. I'm like, oh my god, Snoop Dogg smoking right before he goes on stage. Like, yeah,
He cooks with
I'm
Martha
surprised he wasn't
Stewart.
smoking on stage.
I thought it was a great performance. I think people who spoke really poorly about it. It's like I don't.
Ooh, we don't like those people.
I just don't like the idea of people insulting something else just because it's not their type of music. Like, I think rap and hip hop already is like kind of a polarizing music genre for a lot of people, like especially my parents who are, in their like 60s. It's
not what they listen
it's
to.
not it's not their vibe. Like, my dad wanted nothing to do with it, but I think that there's a difference between you being like, yeah, it just wasn't my type, but like, still, so a performance is a performance, versus like I've seen people call it like shameful, disgusting,
Just like rock and roll when Elvis
and
was
all of
around.
that, and like that's really frustrating to see, because
They're showing his legs. He's dancing.
and
on stage.
especially in a lot, and something that I think is really important is that a lot of the word, like a lot of those songs were like not completely rewritten, but were some of the parts of them were rewritten so that not
Was
only was
more
so that-
palatable?
yeah, not every 5 seconds it's gonna be like blocked, like
right
blocked out or censored in any way
for a national
And-
audience.
Right, but I think that was really cool too, because a lot of those songs did have words that you can't say on live TV, but I don't know. I thought, but it still sounded really good to me.
Well, I
so.
think that's the point of it too. Is like I don't want to say neutered because that feels a little harsh, but they definitely mellowed the songs out a little bit to the point where it's like, are you still complaining about this? Like,
Right,
what's your
exactly.
problem? But
Been
regardless.
around for
Sounds
close to
about
30
white.
years.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Rap
Said
and hip
sounds
hop's
about
been around
white.
for over
I say-
around 30 years.
Sounds
And
about,
we all start talking.
sounds about white.
Right. Anyway, last segment, Tony's horoscope of the day.
Uh-oh.
Hell yeah.
One of my favorite things to do around here. Oh, this is going to be a good one,
Tony's
too.
Listen up.
horoscope.
This is from
Listen up.
horoscope.com, if anyone wants to fact
It's
check
a very
me.
reliable
Well, I
source.
start my
Sounded reliable
23rd
to
year
me.
at work tomorrow, so let's see if this is a good
Well,
one.
I don't know if this might not be able to relate
Seems legit.
directly to your life soon,
Horoscope.
but
Yeah.
I'm just going to read it. If you're taking a trip anytime soon, you can expect to experience a powerful attraction for someone you meet along the way. This will definitely make your journey more interesting. However, the friendship might not survive the trip. You may be from opposite sides of the country, and one or both of you could be involved with other people. Nonetheless, if neither of those restrictions applies, it's worth pursuing. Go for it.
Oh.
So I don't know if you're traveling anytime soon.
Uncle needs to go to California.
I am
right
going to
freaking now.
I'm going to book a flight to California right now.
I've only been there like 25 times in my lifetime.
People should comment. Should we get Uncle on a dating
kind of a
website
lot.
or something? Should we get Uncle like out there and mingling with the folks?
Uh-oh.
I want to see if this is something
We'll save
people
that
would
for
be,
what? Episode? Podcast?
the
what?
people would be interested
Uncle
in.
makes a
10?
Tinder.
Nah, that's.
episode.
I don't know if we need to put him on
the
Tinder,
big,
but like
the
I was
big,
thinking
the big 50 of Tony's Talks
something more his
videos.
speed, like eHarmony or like Christian Mingle or something.
Match.com,
Yeah.
farmersonly.com.
Not farmers only. but-
Lonely and only.
Ooh, that's a good name. We should trademark
Lonely
that.
and only.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do that. We'll get him on some dating sites.
Roy
but-
Orbison had a song saying "Only the Lonely."
We stand
I
On the
think
fifth.
Uncle,
Do you-
I
do
think
you,
Uncle could
relate to that
benefit
heavily?
from some like
Definitely.
internet friends.
Not
Not in
lonely
a weird
per
way.
se, family
Well,
wise.
Uncle, I mean, this
What was that,
podcast
Jenna?
is starting to get some traction.
Well, I'm saying I think you could benefit from having like some internet friends and interactions. Like
Oh.
no,
So-
not in a weird
No,
way.
no,
Like,
I
Well,
know that.
let me-
Positive way,
Let
I
me
understand.
spin off of that and say, I mean, how does it feel to you? And we're not a massive podcast right now.
No,
but
no.
How does it feel to you to know that there are people like in other countries that have listened to it?
give us an example of a country, Jeremy.
Well, I think there's at least one. There's Nicaragua, excuse
Nicaragua.
me. Nigeria. I can't believe I just did that. Nigeria is what I meant to say.
I do have a lot of Nigerian
this harkens
coworkers,
back to something
friends.
that Jenna and I have talked about in the past. But anyway, a lot of countries in Europe actually around that area of like Poland and like the
There's
Eastern.
a lot of Asian countries too.
The Philippines.
Philippines is big.
But not just outside the U.S. Also like in California and the Pacific Northwest and some other parts like Ohio. Like I mean,
Keep listening, folks. We love to see it.
This is my great
Yes,
way
thanks
of saying
very
we appreciate
much.
all the support from whoever's listening. But how does that feel, Uncle, to know that like
It makes me feel great that people do look into other parts of the world and at least take 30 seconds to listen to me.
open up your brain and find out
Which
what's inside
sometimes
of
my
it?
family takes 30 minutes straight without a breath.
Uncle,
Yeah,
come.
at least we can pause a podcast. Am I right?
True.
Uncle's brain is one big Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's a box with no corners.
Nah, it's cool. It's cool
No
to see.
worries.
No ridges.
It's cool to see, especially like Jeremy and I are both admins for the Tony's Talks Facebook, so I get to see a lot of the stats of people following and
Yeah.
liking and viewing and stuff. And
And we appreciate all
Yeah.
of you.
We got
for
the
staying
cameraman out
tuned.
there who hasn't come on camera today,
it's
Logan Robert.
very nice to see.
You don't want to come say hi for a sec, Logan? Just come show your
Just
face.
lean
Yeah,
in.
come show your face.
Logan's had such a long week on school
It's like
vacation.
this-
He is just exhausted.
This is the Logan I hear about all the time but never see.
He has massive Sunday scaries right now
Just
too.
use my mic. You're in the camera now, so yeah.
Podcasting, am I right, guys?
You tell them where they can
Damn
find
right.
the podcast,
Say.
Can
Logan.
find the podcast?
Yeah.
YouTube.com.
YouTube.com,
and
Apple.
you-
Go ahead.
Apple Podcasts. Spotify.
Right. Yes.
Or wherever you listen to podcasts.
You can also follow us at Tony's Talks on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter. We've done recently.
Tony's
Bong.
Talks, TOKS on TikTok.
TOKS on TikTok. We're gonna try and up the TikTok content a little bit more. Uncle, get ready for that.
Hey, maybe like or comment if you want to see some TikTok. Try to get some crowd engagement.
Yes,
here.
crowd engagement. Also, if you want to see Uncle on dating websites,
If you listened this far,
Yeah.
then you should definitely be
Sorry,
commenting.
the podcast was pretty heavy today, but
We're trying to
the
end it.
world
Content.
is a little heavy right now. So
That's
It's
a good way
heavy.
of putting it, Jenna. Thank you.
Definitely heavy.
I don't mean that in a bad way. It's
No,
just like
no,
you
it's-
gotta.
It's true. There's a lot.
Like
of
there's a
tough
lot of stuff that
going
we
on.
need to talk about, and I think it's
It wasn't around 3 weeks ago.
We
and
make
I
it a
think
fun
it's a good
podcast,
thing that
but-
we have this platform, and I think it's a good thing that we have each other to be able to talk things out with and
Absolutely.
really. get
Maybe
down
we'll
to
have the rest of the crew
the
in
nuts
a
and
couple of
bolts
weeks.
of it all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
Darian and
try.
Peter, what the
Because
heck?
by the time we
Yeah,
meet,
oh,
it
you
will
should-
be almost St.
Also, you
Patrick's
should
I'll put
Day.
you
tag
guys on
Darren and
blast.
Peter on social media for not being here. That's something you should definitely do.
On blast.
Just kidding. Don't do that. But Darren and Peter, we miss you. Anyway,
Miss Pepper. I hope she's
like,
okay.
subscribe, comment.
Thanks
This
for
has been episode
watching.
9 of the Tony Talks podcast.
See you for episode 10 in the beginning and middle of March.
Later.
thanks,
Thanks.
y'all.
Peace.